Hi, everyone. Welcome to Masterclass 2025. My name is Plamina, and I've been with ClickLearn since January 2025 as a support lead. And I oversee our support teams across Denmark, the US, and India. I'm very excited to be part of the Masterclass this year and share today's session with my colleague, Martin.
Thank you, Plamina. My name is Morten. I am from the ClickLearn support team. I've been with ClickLearn since 2018. And yeah, today's session will be about, we call it Admin Essentials, Mastering Native Messaging Host, and Websocket.
Thanks, Martin. And before we dive into those details, I'll just go and share a quick overview of the session. We'll start by looking at the difference between native messaging host. I know it sounds like a mothership, but don't be scared. And WebSocket, two components when it comes to capturing processes in ClickLearn. After that, I'll share some of the common native messaging host related cases we see in support. And then Martin will walk us through troubleshooting steps and installations. From there, we'll show you why Teams and some other systems don't work with native messaging hosts and how the same challenges can apply to custom iframes or certain ERP systems. Finally, we'll demonstrate how to use the authoring tool both in standard browsers and in Firefox. And without further ado, let Martin share more about the difference between native messaging host and WebSockets.
You bet. So, native messaging host is what we use with our connector extension. The connector extension is available for Chrome and for Edge. What it does is that it allows for the ClickLearn recording process and the browser extension to communicate so that you record with ClickLearn. It'll run a script in the background, which will then be able to identify and capture all the different things that's going on in your application. So when you click on something, ClickLearn knows exactly what that function is called, what version you're running of the software and stuff like that, right? And which data is in there, which is also why the replay is so powerful. Yeah. Um, a native messaging host application works with an API, so it communicates with an API, like as a networking application. The difference between that and then the ClickLearn authoring tool using WebSocket is that the WebSocket is more like a local piece of software that's running locally on your PC, which is then communicating through a specific port that you defined, a socket port, right? How they're different is that the WebSocket does not rely on the same sort of script, so it's actually not as often blocked by security because typically people have scripting disabled for security reasons. Then we might have an issue. It could be that you have an extension on your application. Let's say you have CRM, and then you have some sort of extension or enhancement by a third party you've added that runs inside of an iframe or something like that. And in there, you suddenly can't record with ClickLearn because they disallow scripting or because there's some kind of authentication layer on top that we cannot access or anything like that. Um, or yeah, just if you have like a total custom application where you have, for some reason, have scripting disabled or similar, then we might be unable to record, and therefore you can use the ClickLearn authoring tool to record said applications. That's basically the difference. Now,
Thanks, Martin.
yeah, you're welcome. Plamina, we get a lot of cases on native messaging hosts.
We sure do, Martin. I can tell you that since I started, I've faced many cases where customers come and they often run into situations where ClickLearn fails to capture data in their system and they're not able to record their processes. And what we notice, especially with new users or others, as we call them in ClickLearn, many times they've already installed the ClickLearn browser extension, but what's missing is one more step: installing the ClickLearn native messaging host. Without it, the setup for a successful recording in ClickLearn is incomplete. And there are a few different ways to install ClickLearn native messaging host, and understanding these steps is key to avoid frustration. Morten will now explain how you can recognize when the native messaging host isn't installed and walk you through the options for getting it set up correctly.
I definitely will, Plamina. So, firstly, I'll just show you how it looks like when it works. Okay. So let's say we go to like clicklearn.com and I want to record this page. So I will pop into ClickLearn, make a new recording. So when the recorder runs, it will try to identify every single unique item on the page. And when it doesn't work, it will highlight the full page. So now the connector has identified which sort of DLL or which sort of connector it needs to use for this specific type of page. It's communicated with the API. It's grabbed the appropriate connector and the latest version of it. That's why it's now highlighting the individual items on the page, right? So I can get the little arrow. I can get this guy here. I can get this this button down here, for example. So I can do recordings, right? And this is something that is done using using the native messaging host and our ClickLearn extension. So what actually happens is as soon as you launch your browser, what will then happen is that in Task Manager, go to Details, and we'll sort by name, and I'll just go to C, and you'll see this clgchost.exe. That is automatically launched because I have the native messaging host Windows registry set, okay? So it's going to launch the executable file because if it has the extension, it will try to launch it. So it's going to look up a little bit like this, right? So the file itself is stored here. If you go to ClickLearn, the file itself is stored here. So you have the clgchost.exe. This is the application that is being launched. The user needs executable rights to this here, of course. Otherwise, they cannot run it. If you run it on Citrix, this folder needs to be available for on the farm for that specific virtual machine. Otherwise, ClickLearn cannot operate. But native messaging host proves that is our current way of recording, and this is the current way that we advise people to install. Right. So basically, what you'll need to do is that you'll come into your browser and you'll come into the store and you'll grab the extension, right? The ClickLearn connector extension. I'll show you how it looks in the store. Basically looks like this. You've probably seen it before. This is what you need. You can just search for it in your store here, right? Search, and then you have our different different extensions we've pushed out. So we have authoring tools as well. Go through that in a bit. The ClickLearn connector itself, when it does not work, I'll show you how it looks when it does not work. So what I'll basically do is I'll come into the Windows registry here. There are two places that you need to add it for Chrome. You need to add it under the key for local machine, Chrome. So you go to local machine, software, Chrome, Google, and then, yeah, you can see it here, right? It's referencing the file you see. I showed you earlier, the JSON file. And this is the same for Edge. So if you scroll down to Edge, it's like Microsoft, and we got Edge somewhere. There it is. And then we have native messaging hosts. It's not registered down here, but that's fine. Most likely, we have it available up here under current user. And then it's the same. So software, Google, Chrome, native messaging hosts. And then you either have it here if your policy needs it or not. Some machines, it's fine by local machine. Other places, they need it under current user. It kind of depends. Normally, I just tell people, edit both places. So your IT admin will contact us, and then we will send you a PDF with a guide on what to do. And it basically tells you to come in here and create these messaging hosts yourself. That's pretty much it. So what I'll do now is that I'll delete the native messaging host. So you can see what actually happens when it does not
Martin,
work.
quick question. When you were showing the path to the program data ClickLearn, um, does it happen that often customers can't see that folder because it needs to be unhidden?
Correct. So it's a hidden. Yeah, that's a good point, Planema. This is the folder is a hidden folder. So if I go to our C drive here, um, you can see that there's a hidden folder. I can see that because I've enabled hidden folders up here, like go to Options, go to View, and then it says Show hidden files and folders, right? I've enabled that. That's one way to do it. Another way is that you click up here and you can type percentage program data, percentage, and then hit return, and it will then take you to the hidden folder. That's another way to do it.
So whenever you think that the folder is not there or it's missing, just remember it can be hidden.
Exactly. Fair point. Thank you, Plamina, for adding that. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this out, and we'll see how unhappy ClickLearn becomes. Just delete it, and that should honestly be it. I'll just restart Chrome here. All right. So you can already see now that ClickLearn is very unhappy. It's telling us that the native messaging host is not installed. And if I don't really notice this, let's say I have a super high resolution screen and this icon is really tiny, I might not notice. So let's pretend I didn't notice. I'm just going to start recording. Now, you saw this page recording just fine earlier, right? What's going to happen now is that it will be unable to detect the individual items on the page, and it will basically scream at me for not having the native messaging host installed, right? We get, I was almost about to say one call a day. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Plamina, but it's a lot.
Happens often. I agree.
Yeah,
And what we want to, you know, share here, and the aim of this session is just to reassure customers that this is not a big issue. It can be resolved quickly, and once you're able to recognize this error, you quickly can react and reach out to us so that we can help out and you can continue with your work.
definitely. Or you can watch this video. So what you'll see now is that the connector is unable to find out what connector is used, so therefore cannot rely on any of the templates we've defined for the different systems we support. And also you can see that it's just highlighting the whole screen, right? That's how it looks when you do not have the native messaging host installed. So there are a few ways to do it. One way is to use we have a wizard here that you can run. So you just click on that and then you can go through the process. Um, this is one way to do it. Another way is that you go manually to the registry and create it yourself. The final way is that you take the PDF that we will send you, and then you can create your own registry file. So the registry file could look a little bit like the one that's already available for Chrome. We have one built in for Chrome. So let me just show you. Here it is. Let me just open it up so you can see. Open with Notepad. So this is how it looks. It just basically creates the key under local machine, right? Like I said, if this is not enough, you do it under the user as well. And of course, if you use Microsoft Edge, you'll need to adjust this to be created for Edge, okay? So what I'll do is I'll just run it. That's enough. So let's do that.
What about some devices? We've sometimes noticed that some devices they're not enabled admin rights, and this is where customers are not able to complete with the native messaging host.
Yeah.
What should they do then?
Thank you for asking that, Pamina. So if you run the registry editor on an account where you do not have admin rights, it will tell you not allowed to edit the registry. And also you would not be able to do what I just did, like double click on this and run it and add it to the registry. You will not be allowed to do that. In that case, your admin needs to help you. You would also not be able to run the wizard because the wizard also runs in your user context, right? It doesn't have any super admin rights or anything like that. ClickLearn is not magic like that. So if you ran the wizard, you would get the same result as trying to do it yourself. It can only execute it using your rights, okay? So then you would need your admin. What your admin would do is that they would either launch the registry, the file like we shown, the rec file, if they create their own, or they'll just go through the guide, create it manually. If they need to create it manually, when they go to current user, that is then their account, right? That's a problem. So what they would instead do, that they would go to users, and you see a bunch of accounts here. If the admin logs in, there will be another GUID, it's called, listed here. To find out which the user is, you could just run a command prompt. It's probably something your admin knows how to do, but what they will then do is they will say, who am I / user. It's very simple. Hit return, and you can then see the ID of the user, right? So this user is called Bucharest, and I could then see that this matches with this class ID here. So that is then that user. There you go. And then you can go through, this is then that would then be the the current user, quote unquote, for the person who's using the PC, right? So that's how they would do it. They would go to current user, they would go to software, they would go to Google Chrome, and then we go to Microsoft Edge, and then create the native messaging host themselves, right? So I will just do it real quick because I know it doesn't exist here. So let's just do it. Let's do it together.
I love that.
Yeah. Why not? So I'll put it over here so you can see what I'm doing, right? I'm going to create this key here. I'm just going to paste. That's it. And then in here, I'm going to put in the JSON, right? There we go. Copy that. And I will dump it in here. There we go. So that's how that works. It's that easy. It's quite easy. So just do that, those 4 places, current user and local machine, for Edge and Chrome. So of course, if you don't use Chrome or if you don't use Edge, you don't need to. Normally, I would recommend you do it for both because, I don't know, I like to be able to record in both browsers in case there's something wrong with one or whatever. There might be reasons. So yeah.
So we can conclude that the installation is quite easy, actually. It's a very straightforward process. And what we notice often is just that the personal devices of our customers can be differently set up, and that become a blocker when it comes to the installation and adding the key manually. And what we encourage people is to request admin rights so this can be sped up and you can go back to recording with ClickLearn your business process.
Yeah. If your business does not have the capability of elevating your account with temporary admin rights, then you may need an admin on your PC and do what I just did, right? So now you can see that I just added the registry key and I restarted Chrome, and now it's happy. I didn't even restart ClickLearn, right? It doesn't care. So now it's working again. I will just demonstrate it working so you can see.
Believe it with your eyes.
Exactly. So and there we go. You can also see, click on the button, open product, right? This button name is called Close Product, Open Product. You may want to like relabel that in the editor, but that is, you can just see it picks it up correctly, and it will also frame it right. So let me just show you that. And when I say frame it right, I'm of course talking about the crop, what we do for the hotspots. It's going to be a nice zoom into the part that matters of the screen, which is us clicking on the drop down for product here. So that's that. Now, circling back to the scripting and to the blocking of application and pages and stuff like that, I would like to show you what happens when you record an application or an third-party enhancements or something that ClickLearn is unable to record. Okay. So here I am in Teams. What I would like to do now is that I'm going to bring up the inspect element with Control-Shift-I. And then I'm going to go to the console. so we can kind of see what's going on. I'll just clear it. Now I'm going to start recording, and what you see is that Teams flips out over me trying to execute a script on it. So I cannot record with the native messaging host, okay? This is exactly what would happen on your third-party site or extension, or, I mean, it could happen if you're unable to record, right? And the way it would manifest itself is basically that it will highlight the whole page. So that's it. This is not a one solution fix all. It's just if that is the case, if it's being blocked due to the scripting, okay? So basically the technology itself. So we'll try to record, and you'll see Chrome showing that Teams is very unhappy about this. So what you can see here is that ClickLearn highlights the whole screen. I cannot click on anything. It does not detect the individual items or anything like that. Let's try to click on something. And what you'll see here, it says refuse to execute inline script because blah, blah, blah. CL XHR connector violates the following content security policy directive. This is what you'll typically see when the ClickLearn is basically blocked from recording. So what you can either do is that you can, if you have edit rights over your page, you can allow scripting. Of course, that's one way. Another thing is that you can have your vendor, if it's a third party, if they're unable to do it, if you can show them these messages and ask them, hey, can you do something about this? If they can't, or if you can't, then what you can do, instead of using the native messaging host, you would use the ClickLearn Authoring Tools extension, okay? Let me just quickly run you through the installation of that. So to do that, I will need to restart ClickLearn. Close it down. So what I'll do first is that I will remove the extension. And I'm going to go to the store over here, Chrome Web Store, and I'll search for ClickLearn. I'll get the authoring tools installed. Go, it's now added. Now, instead of using the native messaging host, the authoring tools relies on Websocket. So I need to enable Websocket. It's a little bit, feels like you feel like a little bit like a program when you do it, but it's not rocket science. It's honestly simpler than installing the native messaging host. You come into program data again. You go to ClickLearn. Now, what you need to do here is you will create a file called ClickLearn config.json. You will need to have extensions enabled to be able to see this. Otherwise, it would have created as a text file instead, which is not something we want. You do that the same place. So you come up here and say Options, View, and the one that says Hide extensions for null file types, you need to disable that. Otherwise, you cannot do this. So I'll open this with Notepad. So in this file, what I'll then do, I'll show you, we'll steal this code here, just this part, that's it. Put that in here. And we'll save it. And that's it. We're done.
Easy
That's how fast
peasy.
it is. Yeah, it is so easy. Now I'll start up Chrome again. So I've restarted Chrome, and now I'm just going to hop into ClickLearn here and try to record, and you'll see what happens. I'll even leave the console running so you can see. There's also another way to open the console. You can click on F12 on your keyboard. And you can select the console, for example. I'm going to try to start recording now. So I'll do a new recording. Call it Teams. And we'll click on record. And now you can see it's using the Teams connector. You see the little Teams logo, and we can identify everything. There's nothing you cannot find. You can even replay this stuff if you wanted to. That's also possible. See, click on the button, More Options. It finds everything. And you know, there's one more cool thing about the authoring tools. This is not any official advice, but let's just try it for fun together, okay? I'm going to go ahead and grab Firefox. I need an extension. I need the ClickLearn Authoring Tools extension. So now that I'm in the store, I'm just going to get ClickLearn Authoring Tools. One huge disclaimer, we don't officially support Firefox. So just keep that in mind. I'm just showing you how crazy Authoring Tools is. It can basically do anything. There is a big caveat with Authoring Tools, and we'll talk about that in a moment, okay? But I just want to show you what it can do. So I installed the extension, try to record just for fun. A tiny disclaimer here, we don't officially support Firefox in any way. So this is, of course, at your own doing, right? There are also other limitations with the authoring tools, which I'll just go over in a second. But now you can see the Firefox icon. How about that? Ever seen that before? If you have, then you've used ClickLearn for a very long time. And yeah, you see, it finds the company, open, close, drop down, right? That's the name of the button. So that also works. Your mileage may vary. You might have mixed results. I'm just showing you that the ClickLearn Authoring Tool can be pretty awesome. There is something that is not awesome about the authoring tool. Since it does not use the API access like the normal native messaging host does, it cannot automatically update the connectors, okay? So the normal ClickLearn connector extensions is very small. It's like 56 kilobytes. And then it uses the API to grab all the DLLs and stuff it needs to be able to identify and record the applications with the latest versions of said connectors. The authoring tools does not have this luxury. Because it does not use an API level access, it needs to be updated from the store every time. This means that if we are to update the authoring tool, we need to update it, upload it to the respective stores for Edge, Chrome, and potentially Firefox, if that is possible. We have had some issues with the Firefox store updating, but it takes a bit longer of the approval to get updated, and it's a manual process. It's not something we can just do with an API. So that part is a little bit more complicated. It is something we're looking to resolve in the future and hopefully just switch to the authoring tool altogether because it's a much easier and seamless experience. It is faster and it's less prone to be slammed by security, right?
Something cool to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today.
Really, really insightful. And with that, I think our session was coming to an end. And we just want to say once again that if you're ever facing any of those described issues that we just talked about, please do get in touch with our support team at support@clicklearn.com. We'll be able to help you out. We'll get you through this and yeah, get you on the successful path to using ClickLearn.
We most definitely will. And you're, of course, also always welcome to post on our community if you like. But with that being
Yes,
said, thank you
definitely.
very much for joining us today for this masterclass session, and have a good one. Thank you.
Take care. Until next time. Bye.